Thank you very much for letting us join this project. The project we have been working on is about increasing frequency of art attendance in the mixed program venue in Wales. To encourage lecture attendance and occasional attendance to come more often, it is important for all venues because we can see clearly from the Clear View report that this will bring noticeable income improvement for all the venues. To develop strategy for this aim, we have read academic and business reports and did some research online, looked into examples of various art venues and communicated with some venues. Besides this, we also looked at case studies both inside and outside this art sector. Well, as we presented last time, based on our analysis, we divided our target audience group into 5 groups. And according to their age, social status, and educational background, we think in this way we could better understand our audience group, their behavior, and some of their requirements. Well, further, we analyze their motivation and barriers because generally audience decision making is a balance between these two. And we think the strategy venue adopt should tackle barriers and try to create new stimulus for the audience to attend. You can find more details concerning the study of audience segmentation, motivation and barriers in our report. In today's presentation, we are going to focus on the strategies we have developed. For each strategy, we will introduce the rationale, implementation, and the constraints separately. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to talk about constraints for each of the strategy, but you can find full details in the report. We will talk about 6 strategies here today, and under 2 major sections, information delivery and enhanced attendees experience. Between every couple, we will offer a short discussion time for you, but please feel free to ask us any question at any time. Well, the first section is information delivery. The first issue we are going to talk about today is how to categorize program. Generally, the majority of art venue use art form-based categorizing system as it shows here. That is to say, to organize program under genres like cinema, theater, and dance. However, this system might create some choosing difficulties for people with limited art knowledge. Also, people without specific preference won't enjoy this kind of idea. They just want to enjoy a great night out and some of them don't really care about what genres they're going to watch. So, in the previous presentation, we discussed the chief motivation for events attending. As stated here, it could be divided into socializing needs and other personal needs like self-promotion, identity enhancement, education, and sometimes the wish for emotional experience. Therefore, here we also propose to develop another approach of categorizing system featuring our audience attending motivation. The screenshot here demonstrates a good example of providing another approach. The left side is the ordinary categorizing system. The right side presents a more diverse version. As you can see here, option like I want to take my kids out, this could relate to family and socializing needs. And options like I want to be amazed or I want to feel moved, this could connect to the perceptual aspect, people's emotional reactions of attending some art events. For the implementation, first is to set up new categorizing system considering attending motivation. Apart from the selection demonstrated above, terms featuring on socializing needs and personal needs could also be added. Like I want to hang out with my friends or I want to learn something interesting. Next is to match the events with new categorizing. Well, the matching could be very flexible. A show could both be suitable for a good night out or amazing experience as long as it fits. Well, the third point is that the new system could go in line with the original art form-based system, just as the example presents. It is suitable for both newsletter subscription and web page search. The second approach of categorization we are proposing here today is to use themes to group up shows. Despite from art forms, some events in fact share something in common in terms of their content, production backgrounds, or the emotional reaction from audience. These qualities could also be used to group up different shows. The example here is from an inside page of Barbican's classical music seasonal brochure. A theme called Play On Shakespeare in 2016 is created here, gathering performance of classical orchestra, RC mainstream theatre, Shakespeare weekend events, and two alternative king shows, which share the same classical Shakespeare theme of kings. This correlation here is central with Shakespeare and King, and we think that fits exactly the needs and taste of classical music lovers. Another example is also from Barbican, from their theatre and dance brochure. This creates a different selection, gathering edgy contemporary music shows, art gallery exhibition, and some outdoor party events. Because Barbican theatre and dance actually has a much younger audience generation, so this also reflects their own needs. Well, for the implementation part, this strategy first requires a good understanding of program content and also the taste of the audience group. It is essential to figure out the correlation between different shows. Based on this, theme could be created to realize the cross-art form selection. The theme should remain open, and correlation could come from performance content, production company, or just the preference of the audience group. The next issue I'm going to talk about today is the selection problem. What to select, and today we especially focus on the selection program in newsletters. Well, as it shows here, the regular newsletter updates usually provide a lot of choices. Sometimes you can even see 20 events in just one newsletter, making it extremely long and hard to read. And in audience insights wells, there are some suggestions concerning this issue. Don't just send the season brochure to your occasional ticket buyers. The choice is too complex. Focus on limited selection that reflects the range of the program. Well, the main point here is to make a limited selection of events and also try to reflect the range of your program. Sorry, I think something wrong with the slides. Sorry about that. The screenshot here is an early email I received from Young Barbican as a new subscriber. Here, the newsletter presents a seasonal selection of 5 events plus 1 artist project, covering all major sectors Barbican currently running. And with this essential description and some catchy pictures, the newsletter actually effectively constructs the overall image of Barbican Center, and also still remain quite attractive and approachable for the receivers. To implement this strategy, we think, well, first is to avoid providing too much choice to your audience in the newsletter. 4 to 6 featured events in one newsletter is quite enough. Second, as stated above, it should be able to reflect the range of program. The third point is to use open and catchy words to promote. Short, clear description with appealing pictures is very effective for delivering this kind of message. That's all from my part, mainly about categorization and selection in newsletter. Is there any questions?
Do you really think that audiences are finding it this hard to choose? You're emphasising a lot about making it easier to choose. Why is that so important, do you think?
Because actually we find that the art form crossover reviewed from the clear view report, we can't find a very specific, they don't really have very specific preference. So probably people just, well, it's a sort of assumption, but probably people just choose events they find fancy, interesting, and they don't really have a specific preference like for ballet or for dance shows for theatre in Wales. And that's why we think that audience might have a more diverse choice than the kind of like sorry to say that, the kind of like the enjoyment and the entertainment part might be more important for them.
Cool, thank you.
So is there any other questions for this part? Okay, next we'll talk about the timing problem, when to send out the information.
As for when to send information, we can have 3 strategies. First strategy is about when to send programs, and the third strategy is about when to send newsletters. Let's see. Usually, venues will make various kinds of programs and put them on the hall of venues and ask audience to collect by themselves. Besides, some venues will hand out programs at the end of performances. Under this situation, audience are always hurried to go back home. They just take programs without looking through content and maybe threw them away later. So the programs are not very effective enough. Compared with 2 methods we mentioned above, we think offering programs before the opening of show is much more useful, because after audience entering the hall and sitting on seats, there is always some spare time before the opening of show, and during this time, audience always have nothing to do. Let's see a good example. The Barbican recently is holding a theme show called the Home of International Directors, and it includes 5 individual shows. The Barbican just put brief introduction and the releasing time of each shows and put them into 1-page leaflet. And they put leaflets on every other stage before the opening of show. In this way, audience can just enter the hall and read the leaflet while they are waiting for the opening of show. Offering programs during the break is another good time, because usually during this time, audience feel nothing to do but chatting with each other or having some refreshments. So providing them with programs with the upcoming performances information can attract them to come back later. As for what to include in the programs, we come up to strategy. The first is use themes to build up performances, just as Freda mentioned before. And the second is to choose selected some related performances of same art forms according to you may also like or why not try strategies. However, providing programs during the break is only suitable for performances with intervals. The third strategy is sending regular newsletters about upcoming performances. According to our research, almost every venue has the function of joining their mail list. However, not every venue is sending newsletters regularly. Therefore, we strongly recommend venues send regular newsletters to their audience, semi-monthly or monthly, and inform audience with the upcoming performance information in advance to leave them some time to make plans. Here on my part, and Jamie will introduce how to organize information. Thank you. Thank you. This part is based on our previous presentation and talking about ineffective messaging. So in this part, we're trying to answer the question, how to organize information and make them attractive. Here we are going to focus on the hierarchy of information. The principal of it is to allow audience to scan through the information but still get the main points. And it also allows the content organizers to review the review the order of importance and also create a route for the audience to focus. To make the strategy more specific, we are going to further illustrate it by analyzing the arrangement of description for programs. Here are 3 examples from Apple, and they are always the exact same content and order. Let's scan them with a 5-second glance, just as audience do, and see the difference. This is example 1. This is example 2. And this is example 3. Now, let's think about the difference. The difference between the first 2 examples are quite clear. A huge paragraph can very easily scare away the audience. And but the clear signposting in the second example give a chance and space for audience to take a breath between paragraphs. However, in this example, the audience still have to finish all the contents to understand what the text is trying to say to the audience. But while in the third example, we can actually understand the whole content with only a scan through the 2 key sentences. So, as mentioned before, with very limited attention audience will spend on each page, a small summary will help to keep them staying in the page. So, how to implement it? How to implement? We explained it into very details in our reports. Here are some main points. The first one is write down all the information in a very simple words. Having better understanding of the program before writing. But we had some feedback from the venues that probably the program organizers company, they didn't provide enough information. In this case, maybe having a conversation with them, or if you can do some research online like on YouTube, we think it will be very helpful. And secondly, summarize the information with very short sentences but detailed words and make them visible. Usually 1 or 2 sentences is enough for a show, but if it's long, and it of course depends on the length of the content. And also, try to avoid words like interesting or brilliant because it's really suitable for everything. Instead, try to include more particular details. For example, if this show is about water, digital, or like family, why not just mention them directly? Next, comments from previous audience can be an extra bonus. In this case, if you don't have chance to talk with your audience directly, maybe we can do some research online, like in Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, where audience are more active. And next, a checklist. This is the final part. After finish all the writing, how about like read all what you have written again and think about these 3 questions. Can I catch a brief image only by scanning the content? Is it easy to understand? And overall, does it sound attractive to you? If not, how can we attract the audience? We have included an example of how to implement it in our report. And in terms of other hierarchy of other information like web design or typography, we put some small links in our report and we think it will do some help. Yeah, this is the end of the second sector for timing and for hierarchy of information. Do you have any questions about this? No? Cool.
I've got one. If you had to prioritise out of all of those things you've just recommended,
Sorry?
if you had to prioritise all those things you've just recommended in the section you've just done,
Yeah.
Because we're talking about venues with varying amounts of resource to put to this kind of activity, what would you pick out as the single most important thing?
You mean in the like summary sentence or?
What would you say if they only had small amount of resource to change what they're doing, what would you say they should concentrate on?
We consider about this part, and we think, because it kind of, we have to talk about in our constraints. We think if we have limited time or resources, we can do the promotion, like the shows for promotion, and to kind of have a try and see the feedback from the audience, and then think about whether it's suitable for further implement or not.
So to pilot something.
Yes. Yes. So, should I move on? Cool. Next is about, next we are going to move to our second chapter. It's about enhancing the attendees' experience. Firstly, I'm going to talk about tickets as souvenirs. This idea is based on the suggestion of building perceptual relationship with audience, as mentioned in our report in the first part. And instead of providing price strategy, to give audience a financial feedback. The suggestion is to give a small gift as a reward of the audience purchasing behavior every time they buy tickets. Considering the limited budget and effect, not the limited effect. That we suggest that venue can print pictures of artwork on the ticket as a way of saying thank you to the audience. To clarify our strategy, the ticket from Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam can be an inspiration. The artwork from Van Gogh has been printed in the tickets as small souvenirs given free by the museums to the audience. We are giving out other tickets, including Van Gogh Museum tickets, as well as some name cards, tickets for trains and closest in Italy, and coupons to help us to have more ideas about it. Yeah. And
gorgeous. Hang on, Jane, let's have a look first. They're such powerful branding messages, aren't they?
Yes.
Because they're so simple and immediate.
So, when we get these tickets, we really have a demand to collect them and keep them with us, or sometimes showing them to our friends. And there's something like a currency. It's from Britain. I'm going to explain it later.
Now, where have these come from? Do you collect these as
Yes, we do collect these.
So you're hoarding these to keep as mementos of the experience.
Yes, because it's nice. It looks really nice. So we want to have it as a memory. And for books and pounds, we even spend money to buy it, just to keep it. Okay, I will move on. And in terms of the implementation, we think there is a very clear difference between museums and tourist destinations, as has been fully explained in our report. So it means that we can't just 100% follow the way they do for the art venues how to implement it. It depends on what kind of image or personality the venues want to present in front of their audience. It can either be the pictures that the representative pictures of venues with collaboration of local artists, like the visuals outside of chapter building. We really like it. Or it can also be representative characteristics with very fine design, just as bricks and pans. And they're actually you have to spend £10 or £20 to buy this, but a lot of people really buy it just for collection. And also, it can also be a theme of programs that are recently on in the venue, as mentioned in the first strategy. For example, for the chapters, we remember that last time we came here, we have the Ghibli shows on that we think it's really good because we have the free brochures from it, and why not just print it in the tickets? But that's some small thinking from us. And in terms of the frequency, we think it depends on the venues that how frequent we should change the form of the tickets. Probably a set of 4 tickets for a whole year with with one ticket for each season would work. Or a set of tickets with various versions each season can also be an alternative choice. And in a word, the actual implementation will be a result of discussion and the capability of the venues. Then that's the end of tickets of souvenirs. Next, Iona's going to talk about socializing events.
Another important strategy that we find that fits the needs and stimulus of our target audience is organizing socializing events that will allow and encourage interaction between the audience. These events could either be pre-post shows, like a casual drinks in the foyer and a deconstructive discussion with the regular crew, or organized separately in special happenings like wine tasting on a Friday afternoon. A very good example that had lots of success was the campaign from the Metropolitan Museum of New York. It focused on their own target group of infrequent attendees, which was teenagers. The name was Teen Night, Teens Take the Net. The description included, grab your friends and take over the net for the night. You can see even from the description that grab your friends highlights the socializing aspect of the event. And the information is informal, casual, and inviting, trying to make the night of the museum an alternative for every other Friday night for the teenagers. Another example, a bit more artistic and original in its nature, comes from the Art Space Vivid projects in Birmingham. They organized a series of nights under the theme Construct the Self-Led Value. One of those invited people to go in, try on a pair of red shoes, walk into space, have drinks, dance, and interact. We believe the success of this example comes because it created a relaxed atmosphere where everyone could go in. Even if they had limited art knowledge, they could still go in, have a drink, meet new people, enjoy themselves without feeling like outsiders. So in terms of implementation, we first have to think of the tastes and preferences of our target audience. We believe that it's important to put ourselves into their shoes and try to think of what would appeal to them, what would attract them, and make events that would look inviting and fun opportunities for them to attend. As maybe educational lectures for a target group are not suitable options, especially if they require prior art knowledge. Lastly, it is important to encourage people to interact either before the shows, to encourage them to attend with friends or family, or during the shows to interact within themselves and make new connections and new friends. Also, we believe that promotions should present the socializing aspect of the event. Today we talked about 6 strategies on information delivery enhancing the attendee's experience. We developed 3 more strategies for which you can find full details in the report. Sadly, due to time constraints, we had to select the ones we thought would be more appropriate today. As an ending remark, we would like to remind that sometimes it's not just about the strategies we implement, but it's about how we communicate them to the audience in the right way. So thank you very much for joining our conversation today, and if you have any more questions about the last part or before, this is really the time to ask.
Can you just flick us back that final slide? Thank you.
Such simple things. Why aren't we doing them already? I mean, I know some of us are doing some of them really, really well, but I'm just looking at it thinking, why are we doing this?
Quite often get into patterns where the time is short, the resources are short, so just keep doing the same sort of things. You try and focus on certain shows, certain types of things occasionally, you do something different, but you don't overly look at the the main, you know, the language we use all the time, you just get sucked into that because you're in that world. So that's the...
It's very difficult to take time back,
Yeah.
to step back and reflect. I mean, you've been basically the venue's head for 10 weeks, having some headspace to think. But when you're so busy doing, you don't have a chance to step back and think.
I was thinking about brand, and it's almost like the show's getting, it sounds terrible. I'm hearing what I'm saying, going, I like what you're saying, but it's like the shows confuse the brand. You know what I mean? There's so much information that we give them that it confuses what we're trying to get across about. Just having a great night out and being engaged and interested and inspired and feeling creative. I just love the idea of the mementos that remind you that that's what it's all about. I'm just trying to think of what all the ticketing systems are going to say. When we demand party tickets. Wow.
I guess it could be a postcard that you get given.
Oh,
When you're doing it.
So that's going back to be the
Ticket itself.
We thought about like postcard or other bookmark, something like that before. And we think probably connect more, I would say, strong with the purchasing behavior. Like put them on the ticket will kind of save the budget and also give them like very clear things. This is from this venue, not just something I don't really remember where it's from.
Yeah. And this is about this experience, so it really is a memento.
Yes.
We use our ticket stock to just remind people that their purchase funds our creative learning and our other ambitions. With kind of statement on the back about supporting us. I know a lot of venues do that. For us, that's the most important thing. Is just reminding people that yes, they might have just bought a ticket for Billy earlier, but not just the experience we want to have, but we want to just recognise the fact that they're supporting other things. And we find opportunities then to use different photographs and ticket stock just to represent the kind of formation of
Oh wow, so you're representing literally that creative inspiring experience.
Because it is a challenge when you're dealing with show brands. It's a challenge, but it's all about balance, isn't it? Just finding those opportunities to eke out some of your own brand space in all your communications.
Yeah, that does seem to be the implicit message here. It is about maximising the space in your own brand. If you're talking about hierarchy of information, that's got to be at the top.
Just in terms of information delivery, there isn't a panacea for this. Every perceivable way of categorising information will be useful to somebody. We try and find a way of just ordering it in different ways at different times.
Do people use those tick boxes on the
I
right?
wish I could tell you, unfortunately, the way that is coded, I cannot get any stats out of that. Which is a bit of a bummer. But we just know from what Google tells us about how people hit our site, what they're actually searching for, and it's everything you can imagine. It's show-led, as if they're typing in a name of the show, or it's about us, which is great, because that's about brand, or it's about something to do tonight. Again, for us, for me, getting our data and our information exposed as an API so third parties can use it to make so all the information that's stored in our database about the performance, the time, the genre, finding a way of exposing that so third party ticket vendors can use that in a way that suits their customer base is kind of my holy grail.
It's like how software speaks to other software.
Yeah.
Right.
So at the moment we have to manually plug in data into other people's systems. So like just connecting those in an easier way. That means theoretically we can get that data further and wider out into the marketplace. And so that's just another way of delivering information, really.
And are you able to drill down and say, you know, these people find us by Google, these, you know, can you start categories, so you know those behaviours?
You can segment.
How they're actually responding.
Yeah.
Because it reminds me of how we market our OMAs, and the majority of people we know see Warwick, see that it ranks very highly, say, right, Warwick's the place for me. Another bunch of them say, I want to do a course of media in a title, any course of media is up for grabs, and others who come by personal recommendation from alumni. And there are three very distinct groups in those categories, or a smaller subgroup who say, I've heard about this course, this is the one I want to go into because it's so highly specialised. So, and we have to think about all of those when we're on marketing. I guess it's the same with music, but there's no one route to Rome.
A lot of those other summary points are about creating awareness across your whole organisation. And making sure the delivery of some of those things is rooted in their operations. That's about putting the customer at the heart of all decision making and the totality of the experience you're trying to create. But I do think it has to be owned by a marketing function, because we are the gateway to understanding and evaluation. But I would say that.
Just approaching a whole load of Irish data, and they give you a whole load of stuff about marketing metrics. And it's really interesting because on average their click-through rate from their emails is 2%, except there are 5 venues that have got between 8 and 13% click-through rates, and they're the ones that have all the results. So they're already jumbled their mailing lists, and they're the ones that provide the short choice, you know, for 4 or 6 events.
I know what we used to do monthly. It's interesting to see that, because we used to do monthly emails and we used to have about 2 to 5% open rates, but we went to weekly but shorter, and because it's gone up to about 22, between 20 and 40 actually.
Open rates.
Yeah. And then click-throughs were higher as well. It was just the fact that it was like they even opened it.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, I don't know, it just wasn't. But it's hardest managing to do weekly, if I'm honest. So it was that thing of, when I saw that, I was like, ooh, we can go right to monthly.
Yeah, the frequency is of communications is definitely something that we don't really talk about.
No.
Because there is a fear that it actually increases your unsubscribes.
Yeah.
But there are some people that say if your unsubscribe rate isn't at a certain level, then actually you're not doing enough. You could be doing more. Actually, you should be aiming for a certain level of unsubscribe rate.
You should be able to hit a certain percentage of our audience
Get a certain churn rate. And
Because otherwise you don't know where the threshold is.
You don't know.
Always back up.
where's the throttle?
Yeah.
So I noticed in the bigger document, you reference Festival Voice, and obviously we did quite a lot of e-communication around that. Some of it was segmented by art form or by risk category, and but there is a difficulty with that because we don't program that kind of music regularly. You start making all sorts of assumptions about what people are actually interested in. So there's a balance of database-wide communications and loosely segmented based on art form, just to see actually what the truth was of people's interest. And we saw quite high click-through rates, but actually quite low conversion rates, which suggests that we are relevant to our database, but actually their interest was less than maybe we anticipated overall in the program.
Gosh, it's a tough one to.
It's a tough one for our programmers.
Yeah.
But that's kind of in terms of expectation. There should have been some level of expectation that would play out. because our database is not built on music per se.
But also databases are built on purchase, not what the customer made
Of course.
or
Yeah.
so they could have bought 5 tickets and hated all of them.
Mhm.
But you've been unwise that you just got that purchase and paid. Yeah, it's tough.
Maybe that's why the setting up range works, because
I think there is a level of you've always got to have that sense that when we were talking about it earlier, every segmentation model is flawed in some way, and you've got to use there are multiple dimensions into your current database, and that also plays out in your non-data, in the customers aren't trying to innovate. So there's never one thing that answers all the questions.
that's what we do.
Yeah.
You're doing what you think that box.
oh, like
Yeah.
You can have a job.
That's hard because as an audience member, I don't always like being second guessed.
Why?
I don't like to tell if you like this, you'll definitely like this.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not that predictable. Tomorrow I'm going to like that.
It's like your Amazon predictions, isn't it? If you buy everything that I buy on Amazon is generally a present for someone else.
Amazon thinks it knows really well.
It thinks that I love fishing in cars.
Or Marks and Spencer's, you just bought something, and they will then bombard you with stuff that's exactly the same as the thing you just bought. You haven't got it, don't need it anymore.
That's a particular challenge of programmatic advertising, where it's so underdeveloped right now, isn't it? You get
It struck me that's what we do. We just been to opera, let's bombard them with opera. It's exactly the same as I just bought a pair of black trousers and let's give them black trousers for the next 6 months.
And you're obviously avid goers of things. What do you like most? You just put yourself in the shoes of an audience member. What things speak to you? What do they?
What grabs your attention and interest?
What would make the decision for you?
That's really hard.
I think in terms of visualizing information, to have one clear, interesting sentence that will grab your attention, just as Jane said.
But I just personally, I also quite like the socializing events, because one of the vivid project examples that I went there, and it's really a small venue, but actually I spent around an hour there, just because I usually don't wear high heels, and there everyone's wearing high heels, like female, male, and everyone just enjoying the moment that they're not themselves anymore. So it's kind of very low entrance for these kind of events, but if the venue is Warwick Art Centre is quite close to my home and they have such events, I would definitely go, and I would definitely have a very good impression on these venues.
So it's interesting you use the phrase low barrier to entry, and that it just meant stepping into a pair of red
Yes.
shoes, and that was the only thing you had to do.
Yeah, and but actually it's kind of not just very simple, but they have very deep and theories behind it. It can make you think.
I love that idea that you just by putting on a pair of red shoes, it's true, you're not yourself anymore.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
You need a dressing up box.
Yeah, and sometimes, for example, the series were provided by the Opera House in Birmingham, so sometimes you can even limit resources by partnerships or agreements with other organizations.
I didn't even have to buy the red shoes and people.
social media.
And also, I think in the beginning we really like the idea that provide another approach of categorizing. We find it as an example in another Welsh menu, but I really can't pronounce the name. What was that? Mulder. Yeah, it was kind of very cool, and this a homepage, the whole page of picture, and you just choose. I want to be entertained. I want to be something. Even entertained. Okay, cool.
already in the mood of thinking what kind of art journal I'm looking for, this would be a really good way of choosing things I want.
Talk to us a little bit about exchangeable tickets, because we had a bit of a talk last time about it, the first meeting, but we got to some different people here. Why is that? Why have you put that on there?
We have this strategy because we notice many venues don't provide exchangeable tickets. We are not suggesting to refund it because we know that many venues can't afford it. But if we can give more flexibility to the audience, then it helps them to release some time pressure because they perhaps they have concerned about the time, perhaps they're not sure about the schedule. So if the tickets, they can't exchange the tickets, they might not buy it and not book it in advance. And if you provide such service, perhaps it will encourage them to book the tickets in advance. And for this exchangeable tickets, according to your capability, you can, for example, you can let them choose another time for the same performance, or you can let them to exchange the tickets to credits and let them to buy with the credits next time. So actually the money still goes to the venue, but they have the chance for second choice. So yeah.
Really chimes with that trend of people buying clothes online and buying several different sizes. Because they were whinging about that, weren't they, the traders a few weeks ago. But, it saves time, doesn't it? You can buy 4 at once and send out the ones that don't fit. That saves time.
And another point about exchangeable tickets, we were considering that even though a lot of venues have this strategy that provide audience to make it like more flexible, but we didn't really see the terms and conditions when we buy tickets. So we kind of show like a bar from National Express when you buy tickets, and they will tell you this is refundable or not, this is changeable or not. So make it more clear. I think this is another point that we want to say. It's also in our report, and we have a screenshot of it.
And were there different prices for the refundable ones and the non-refundable?
I think, as far as I remember, I think so. And also for some other like hostels or let's say hostel words, some website like that, they provide you 2 different choices. One is like refundable, and the other one is no. If you want to make it flexible, then you have to pay extra money for it, but not too much.
Wow, that's interesting, isn't it? Because you talked first time round about this idea of having to commit to something in advance. Yeah, very interesting. Whether people would tell you for the ability to not to be quite so committed.
And equally, we talked about waiting lists for popular shows where they have very small tickets. That if people come back and exchange them, how other people who want to go are going to know there's an opportunity.
Actually, we still think the problem is communication. Actually, many of the venues, they have the policy that allows audience to exchange the tickets or even refund the tickets. But since also many of the venues in the UK generally, they were printed like non-refundable on the ticket. So I didn't really know, like Birmingham and Warwick Presentation, they both allowed for exchange. They could put their money into credit. But since many of the venues don't do that, I just think, well, all the venues don't do that at all. So actually, I missed at least 4 to 5 shows because I can't really make it. The money just goes to waste. So if it could be more flexible and the credits could be used for purchasing another show or even just used to buy some refreshments in a bar or cafe